Hello, friends and folks, and welcome back to Neutral Game, your newbie-friendly fighting game podcast. I'm Six Detmar from Scanline Media,
And I'm Real Silver. Hello.
and we're here with some retro games. Everything that's been going on has not been especially affording to a lot of new fighting games, but also, even setting that aside, it's just if you can't appreciate your roots, if you can't appreciate where this genre came from. I was gonna say something like "Don't talk to me," but that's really mean. You can talk to me. Just probably play some old games. They're good.
If you can't look back, how can you expect to look forward?
Well, because those are different directions.
Well, yeah, but look, look. The thing is, a lot of retro fighting games are really bad, and it's good to sometimes remind ourselves how far we've come as a society.
But sometimes they're really good.
Some,
We really run the gamut here with our two games we have played this month.
yeah. And just to put a little disclaimer at the start. So these games were emulated, and we played them on Parsec, which is a program that basically lets you one person host their PC and stream video to the other person, and the other person can do inputs with pretty acceptable latency. So that's how we played. And also keep in mind we played all of these games for like an hour or so we're not doing a deep dive on it.
I mean, I could probably do a deep dive on CVS2. I've played a lot of CVS2 in my day, but not as much. So that's, of course, Capcom versus SNK2, Mark of the Millennium 2001, where we played the PS2 version of that game. And then we also played the PS1 classic Kensei Sacred Fist.
I wonder if people can guess which game I picked and which game you picked.
Well, I wrote an article once upon a time about CVS2 and why it's so good. So I think I've already given away my... And also, you streamed some Kensei Sacred Fist back in December last year.
Yeah, and you were there, so technically you were also participating in it.
It's true. It's true. I think I was the one who first picked David Human, thus setting off what would become a now 9-month-long obsession.
Well, just everybody's obsessed with David Human.
So what game do you want to tackle first?
Let's tackle the good one first.
Wow. Okay. Just this is one of those dessert firsts kind of nights, huh?
Yeah, it's
All right.
it's Sunday. It's the end of a vacation. It's a miserable year. Let's just start with the good stuff and put away the bad stuff for as far as possible.
Okay. So Capcom versus SNK2 is the second one of the Capcom versus SNK series made by SNK. The funny thing is the names are in reverse, right? So if it says like, wait, did I get that backwards? Hang on. Now I'm doubting myself. I feel like Capcom vs. SNK is the one that was made by SNK, and then nope, I had it backwards. That one's the one that was made by Capcom. Huh. Okay.
Yeah. And SNK versus Capcom is the one made by SNK, right?
Yeah, I just thought that because this is the good one, and I usually find SNK games better. But no, turns out.
Looks like looks like you have to update that article of yours.
I guess so, because yeah, SVC Chaos, not a very good game. Interesting, but not very good. So this is a game that is about, like, what if we mashed together, at the time, the two biggest fighting game developers, Capcom and SNK, brought their rosters together, and didn't just bring their rosters together, but also brought their systems together in a really interesting way.
Yep, this is my first experience with the game. I've only heard of it, but I've never actually had a chance to play it.
It's delightful, I think. So basically, you have a whole roster of characters from both Capcom and SNK, include, like, you've got Street Fighter, King of Fighters, Fatal Fury, Garou, Samurai Showdown, Dark Stalkers. It's mostly Street Fighter characters, though. Mostly Street Fighter and King of Fighters. But there's some people, some exceptions to that.
It's kind of weird saying mostly King of Fighters characters, saying King of Fighters characters are mostly Fatal Fury and Art of Fighting and whatnot characters.
Sure, but listen, I'm talking to a modern audience. This is a game for no, that's the other podcast. I was gonna say this is a game for kids. Uh, this is your newbie friendly fighting game podcast, so I'm not gonna assume a lot of genre knowledge.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have you back on this one.
there are a few token representatives from both companies where we have like two Samurai Showdown characters from the SNK side, and I think
Yep.
one Garo character.
Mm-hmm.
And
You get Last Blade 2 character in Hibiki.
yeah,
You've got Kyosuke from Fighting Schools. What's that actually called?
Project Justice.
Rival Schools. I think he's from Rival Schools, not from Project Justice, but maybe he's well, whatever. They're the sequels to each other. It doesn't matter. And also, of course, we got some special characters like God Rugal. Some real fancy friends. But I feel like the systems are really what make this game special, which are the ratio system and the groove system.
Yeah, the ratio system actually reminds me a lot of Garo's top mode, like where you want to pick your character to be the most effective. Except here, instead of picking that, you kind of pick which character you want to be the most effective.
Yeah, it's interesting because in our games we only had a limited amount of time, so we were picking 3 characters every time. But the thing that differentiates it from top is, so basically you have 4 points, and you can pick up to 3 characters, and you distribute those points, and that's how powerful those characters are. But you don't have to pick 3 characters, so you can go 1-1-2 or 1-2-1 or 2-1-1, or you can go 2-2 with 2 characters, or 1-3, or you can just go 4. You can just have one character who's massive and scary, and that's actually definitely viable. I think people tend to go 3 characters in competitive play just because of the potential of being like countered, right, of matchups. But there's no assist button or anything. There's no real downside for just having one character if you're really good with that character.
So it's not like Skullgirls where like you want 3 characters because you want assist at all times.
Right. It doesn't have that particular hang up. So I feel like you really can explore the ratio system pretty well. And if you get to a point, like I think that's especially helpful for playing with people who aren't getting super deep into the game, where they're like, oh, one problem I've had playing other people in KOF is them being like, okay, I figured out one character I like, and then I guess I'll just throw 2 other randoms on here. I don't know. If that's how they feel, they can just pick one character and make them ratio 4. It leaves room for people with different comfort levels with different characters, and I think that's really a helpful thing. Okay. But then there's also the groove system. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna say I wouldn't explore the ratio system because as I was like picking characters, it never felt like I never looked at the UI and saw anything that said like, okay, you can just like not pick the other characters now. It always felt like I had to pick 3 characters in advance, so that was a bit confusing.
Yeah, I think you just have to hit basically the start button after you've picked 1 or 2 characters.
Okay.
It is an old game, and there are some things about the way it's set up that are less than ideal, including the groove system. The groove system is a very cool system, I think, where basically you pick what game you want to pretend you're from. There's like a groove that makes you pretend like you're from the Alpha series, or from like specifically Alpha 3 is one. There's one that makes you pretend like you're a character from Samurai Showdown, and this influences like how your supers work. It influences like whether you have access to like parries or air blocking or rolls or short hops. It's actually pretty extensive, and it just doesn't tell you in the game.
Yeah, it's just like a list of A groove, B, C groove, S groove, or whatnot. So we had to look up online what's what, and I think I tried all of them, but I think I stuck mostly with K Group, which is Samurai Showdown and Mark of the Wolves, primarily because those are 2 SNK games I'm kind of more familiar with. Like, I think I know them a bit better than KOF's systems, at least. So that helps. And how that works is when your health bar or when your super meter is full, you enter a rage state and you do more damage, and then you can do a super and end the rage state while it's slowly depleting. And you also get Just Defend from Garou, which is if you block at the last possible moment, do you recover actually health from it, or do you only parry it?
I don't think you recover health,
Okay.
but you do parry.
Makes sense that you won't recover health.
One of the things that's interesting is the way this has an effect on balance, where there are combinations of characters that are just like not like, obviously there are characters that are better suited for other grooves, but even more specifically than that, like you'll see that like specifically like A groove Blanca is one of the best characters in the game, and in other grooves not nearly as good. Or like K groove, I think it's Sagat is really good in K groove. Just the way those like because characters' move lists don't change based on their groove, just the extra features they have access to, and some extra features with certain characters are busted. Apparently, it turns out if you give Blanca the right groove, Blanca can do lightning roll cancel, and that's just fucked up.
I don't know. I think he needs that in SF5.
Well, listen, he's also just a bad character that I think sucks, but I've never been a Blanca fan.
Oh.
He's just a dumb green man.
I mean, you just press one button. It's basically like Chun-Li, and you just the special.
It's true. But generally, so what are your feelings about like the feel of this game? I am pretty well acquainted with this title. So I want to hear a newcomer's thoughts first.
I think it plays well, but I also think it is extremely overwhelming when you pick it up, because you have this entire roster of characters where, when you play King of Fighters, you kind of know how characters interact, but then when you throw in a bunch of these like non-SNK characters, you're kind of just, oh wait, well, is Ryu good versus like, I don't know, Iori? Like, are they comparable? And then you kind of add to this mix also the groove system, and you're not really sure how that changes because the game doesn't explain anything. So it gets very confusing. It seems there's a lot of decisions you're expected to make very early on, and no explanation or frame of reference for it. So that was like the first thing that worried me, but after like playing it for a while, and I tried my KOF teams, I tried some Street Fighter or Capcom characters I knew of, and so on. After that, it kind of made more sense. They still use some of the old inputs, so that also kind of messed me up, because I tried playing Athena, and she either doesn't have some moves, or some moves have different inputs than they do in 13 or 14. So there were like tiny things like that. But after I got into it, it made much more sense. And after I realized it had Eagle from Street Fighter 1, I was like, oh, okay, this is actually really good now.
Yeah, I think I'm a big fan of the character roster of this game. I think Hibiki is one of my favorite fighting game characters ever, and she's only in this game, well, that I've played. Obviously, she's in Last Blade 2 as well.
That's amazing to me that, like, she's your favorite, like, fighting game character, but you have actually never touched Last Blade.
Well, I mean, for a long time, I was like, my favorite two characters are Hibiki and Rock, and I hadn't played Garou either.
It's kind of like, oh man, I love Akuma. And it's like, oh, you play Street Fighter? Like, what? No, I play Tekken.
No, I play Marvel vs. Capcom. Akuma, exactly. The mascot.
The mascot, yeah. Yeah, I find that fun word, but I think in general it just feels like everything about the game is very extra. I think that's the only way I can describe it, because the narrator is supremely extra, always hyping it up, never shutting up. The music is very 2000s extra. The stages have a lot going on. Every menu has a lot going on. It's just like there's just assault of things all the time. So it almost makes sense that when you want to pick something, you just have this choice paralysis of, oh, I guess I have 40 characters and then one mode for each character. Okay, let me just figure out what I need to do.
It is kind of interesting though because it does ultimately play like, more systems and stuff, but the pace is very KOF, which leads to a game where, like, despite there being a lot, like the presentation being really extra, it's not that hard to follow the action, I find.
Yeah, I kind of like can't even see this game happening now between like Capcom and another company. Like I kind of almost, because we had we had Marvel Infinite, which is Marvel's Capcom line that kind of went weird, and then Street Fighter X Tekken, and that also kind of went weird.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can only see either Capcom just making a Capcom All Stars game, or like some other fighting game companies. Like I don't know, I can see Namco making some weird Match of the Millennium type of deal, more so than Capcom right now.
I mean, it does feel unlikely. But it is actually an interesting time because one, SNK is starting to sort of come back into the spotlight. They're starting to make games again. Not that they weren't making games. I guess the pachinko business is very lucrative. But they're making proper fighting games and stuff again. They made KOF 14. They have new announcements on the horizon. They've talked about wanting to get back to Garo. They made Samurai Showdown. But also, it's interesting timing for us recording this episode because just the other day, there was a Japanese fighting game dev stream. Did you happen to catch that?
Oh, I heard about it. It was the one where they had like a roundtable discussion, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
And yeah,
watch it.
it was fascinating just because, like, I mean, the rivalry between these studios is so big, and seeing on the same virtual, but seeing on the same stage, like sharing like airtime, passing to each other. You had like Bandai Namco, Koei Tecmo, SNK, Capcom, Arxis, Arika in the same room as Capcom, which given how that's gone is pretty amazing. Um, and it seemed like watching that stream and listening to them talk, it seems like in a weird way COVID has brought out a spirit of cooperation that could make this kind of thing possible again.
I see. They finally realized that NetherRealm is a threat and will just join in to create the one Japanese fighting game to destroy all others.
Please do. NetherRealm is only a threat because of story modes. Their game is not good.
Okay, so basically everybody makes a game and Arc System Works makes a story mode.
There we go. There we go. You saw the announcements coming out of that, though, at least, right?
I saw the Tekken's getting Kunimitsu, Guilty Gear is getting Leo and the cool vampire samurai dude. So that's
And
also,
then Setsuka for SF or for Soul Calibur.
yeah, it's a pretty decent announcement. No Mark of the Millennium though. What the hell, Capcom and SNK?
Well, SNK said they couldn't announce anything right now, but very soon. So clearly, they're working on Capcom versus SNK 2 Mark of the Millennium 2020.
Yeah, like I kind of really want this, straight down the middle divided versus game after playing this, because the only thing we really do have right now is you have Smash, which is here's Nintendo and friends. You have guest characters in Namco Fighters, which is like, hey, here's Tekken, and Geese and Akuma decide to join and have some fun as well. Like you have like these little like cameo things, but you don't have anything that's literally like, no, my company's gonna beat up your company.
And it's also to the degree that I think one of the things that makes the Capcom versus SNK versus Capcom series unique is because of this groove system and some other elements. It's not like when you do Marvel versus Capcom, what you're really doing is, what if Marvel characters were in a Capcom fighter, right?
Yeah.
Or when you do like Tekken versus or Street Fighter versus Tekken, you're saying, what if Tekken characters were in a Street Fighter game? Capcom versus SNK really does split the difference in a way with the groove system and with the way these characters are represented. You can have one character be like, I feel like I'm playing Street Fighter like Alpha, and one person playing against you be like, I'm playing KOF.
Man, like imagine having something like I don't know, like SNK versus Arc System works, and you can just like pick the Guilty Gear system for an SNK character. Or like oh yeah, I'm gonna play Iori, and he has access to faultless defense and roaming cancels.
Right? That dynamic I think is so cool, and that's part of like why I've been so obsessed with CVS2 for so long, is because I mean obviously it's a whole series, but it's the best one of the series. And this idea of like, you know, it's not asymmetrical in the fact that one person necessarily has an advantage, but it's asymmetrical in that you can choose to play different games against each other, and I just think that's so fascinating.
I mean, it's why Mugen is so fun. Like
Yeah.
Mugen is also that, where you basically play different games versus each other. Like
Mugen is the true spirit of Capcom vs. SNK2.
Yeah, like it's. I mean, when I say Mugen, I mean Mugen when you don't put in like the broken ass joke characters. Like when you actually take Mugen and get the like repackages where they basically say like, yeah, here's Soul from Guilty Gear, and it's literally all his like move properties and systems in it, and then you like fight versus I don't know Ken from Third Strike. Like that's the kind of like dynamic that this reminds me of.
Can you now on air swear that you're going to have some Mugen content in December this year?
Oh God, I can try and figure something out.
I can cut this out of the podcast if you want.
No, leave it in.
Okay.
But yeah, and the other takeaway I have from playing this, aside from I want something like this now, is also just put Eagle in Street Fighter V.
Eagle's so cool.
Like
I didn't realize because I just didn't mess with him before, but
he has the perfect moveset for me. Plus, he looks like an arrogant asshole. Like it's this like gentleman dude. So Eagle is like from Street Fighter 1, and he's like this gentleman dude. It's kind of like something between I don't know Slayer and Dudley, and he has two sticks he fights with. But I think the move properties are pretty fun, where he can absorb hits while charging his spinny attack with the sticks, and you don't know where he's gonna attack, like up, like high, mid, or low, and some other stuff. And also, he has terrible English, so I would like all of that in Street Fighter V, including the terrible English.
there's a vibe to him that I think you pinpointed, where he feels like a person who is like, I got bored with normal fighting, so I'm gonna pick up sticks to make this harder for myself.
Yeah, definitely. Like he feels like he could punch you out, but instead he's just gonna humiliate you with two sticks.
He's just gonna sit there and twirl a stick, and you're like, "What? What's he do?" And you try to approach, and he hits you in the head, and you're like, "Ow!"
Truly, the John Wick of fighting games.
Yeah. He's great. He's still no Hibiki. Put Hibiki in more games, for God's sake.
Hibiki is really good. Like I was surprised when I saw her here, because I also really like Hibiki in Last Blade. Especially because kind of the one thing I really liked about her being there, and it's also to an extent Haomoru from Samurai Showdown, as where instead of going with this rush down approach that SNK characters do, or you go more towards like an SNK neutral game approach, because I kind of feel like Street Fighter characters in general feel a bit better at neutral, but there's a distinct type of neutral you have in Samurai Showdown and Last Blade that feels very interesting to see how it interacts with everybody else, where it's like you try to rush down Hibiki and she just like slaps you with the sword, and it's like nope, stay back, nope.
Yeah, she just extends that sword, and you're like, damn, swords are long, it turns out.
Yeah. Hey, overall good. I'd like to play more of it.
Excellent. I would love to play more with you sometime. Perhaps it's a December thing as well. Perhaps I'm making too many promises for a feature that isn't actually mine.
Just pile it on me.
But speaking of December, probably not returning, but a previous star, Kensei the Sacred Fist. Miodrag, I feel like this is like, in a way, this is ours together. Like, if you look at perhaps some clips from your Twitch channel, usually I'm there for this one. But I feel like this is really your baby.
It's my baby because like so I mentioned maybe before in podcast how we had these arcades where you have consoles and you have them hooked up to TVs, and when you picked which game you want to play, you have this like catalog on the wall, like where they kind of categorize them by genres, and
Hmm.
one of them had Kensei the Sacred Fist, but they didn't have a working copy, so it's apparently like the disc got scratched or something. So for years, I wondered like, what the hell is Kensei the Sacred Fist? Um, and I didn't remember the name of it when I was looking it up last time I wanted to play it for December. So I had to like dig like a list of PS1 fighting games, and the only thing I could remember about it was Alan because Alan was on the cover, like the Edward Scissorhands. It's like fighting game with pale black spiky hair dude, and eventually I found this, and I kind of regret finding it because it was like just disappointing. Um, so Kensei the Sacred Fist, also known as Boogie in Japan, which I think is the better name. Developed by Capcom, sorry not Capcom, developed by Konami. PlayStation only, never got to the arcades, and it's essentially a Tekken clone with Virtua Fighter stuff mixed in, which I know technically that phrase is incorrect because Tekken is a Virtua Fighter clone, but this really plays like a Tekken clone with Virtua Fighter elements to it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, really, this just plays like a clone. Is perhaps just the shorthand here.
It plays like that one movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It plays like listen. They were cloning Tekken, and someone was like, wait, you've got to deploy the clone. And they're like, we can't. He's got a month left to develop. I'm like, I don't care. Send him out.
No, this so this is so much of a clone of a better thing that it actually has Steven Seagal in it. Which
It
is
does have Steven Seagal.
well, Douglas is Steven Seagal. He is literally a copy paste of Steven Seagal just with a different name.
Yeah. No, I said it does. There was no. I was not being contrary. I know I spoke quietly, but no,
okay.
it's super. It's
Yeah.
super. Just does.
Yeah, which Steven Seagal, the ultimate like action movie clone protagonist.
I mean, it also has David Hasselhoff. So
It has David Hasselhoff, but like, I don't want to insult David Hasselhoff. He hasn't really done anything that wrong, to my knowledge.
fair.
Aside from being David Hasselhoff, I guess, but I can't blame him for that. But so this essentially has you have punch and kick button, you have a throw button, and you have a guard button. And I learned quite a lot to appreciate Tekken's guard system because when you play Virtua Fighter and you have a guard button, the moves are very clearly telegraphed as to where they're hitting and whether you're blocking high or low at any given point in time. In this game, because it handles like Tekken, but it has a guard button, it's really difficult to figure out whether you're blocking high or low. From what we've played both like on now and on December. But it does have a cool thing with guarding where your character doesn't just hold back their arms and try to take in the blow. Where it's more a character will be kind of like dodging left and right, or will do that martial arts, window washing thing to avoid getting hit. So that looks kind of cute, even though it makes a lot of limbs just clip into the blocking person.
That's very unfair of you, Miodrag. You've taken away the one positive thing I could say about this game.
well, okay, but I'm gonna take away the other positive thing I actually like. I do like that guard actually is contextualized with spacing in terms of if you're holding the guard button and your character's doing those little like dodges to avoid getting hit, they do take a step backward, and that would have been really cool if it didn't have infinite size rings like Tekken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is against all odds. There are a few ideas actually tossed in here. Mostly, I think it's that guarding stuff. And then I guess some of the character designs are ideas.
I mean, oh god, before recording, we were going through some character bios because these people are very mid-90s. I'll let you start off so I don't take any gems. Who was your most memorable character?
I think It's so hard to pick. I think I'll start just simple with Alan, since you started with Alan in your life. Alan, of course, the 23-year-old foster child who killed his foster father. And ever since that, Alan's spirit had turned cold like a devil, no longer having a care for anything in the world. And so his hobbies are destruction. He likes solitude and strong opponents. He dislikes legit society, weaker opponents, and people in general. And yeah, he does just look like Edward Scissorhands.
He looks like Edward Scissorhands. Like with maybe like more spiky hair. That's about it.
Obviously no scissor hands, but
yeah.
You know.
Oh, that would have been a massive improvement if we did have Scissorhands. I don't I did like Heinz Streit. Oh my god, I didn't realize his last name was Streit. Streit is like argument, fight, something like that. So Heinz, born in prestigious family, well-known aristocratic ancestry, but he had quickly grown tired of his wealthy and pampered life. My favorite thing about it is just that he likes Wiener Schnitzel. Like, that's like an official thing on his back. Like, this guy that looks like Jackie from Street Fighter, but with the, before all anime protagonists had the goggles, he had the little, Nelly plaster on his cheek. God, remember Nelly? That was like fucking decades ago. Like he likes Wiener Schnitzel and being the black sheep of the family. And yeah, dislikes his home life and people who order him around. But it's like, you're called Heinz. That's like the worst name. I would hate my parents too if I was called Heinz.
Well, the villain, Kaya Tsubaki, his hobby is committing evil deeds, which, buddy, you gotta find hobbies outside of work. He likes world domination and everything evil, so at least he likes his job. But he does dislike people who impede his plans.
Yeah. No, these are just like, these bios are amazing, and we have this character who looks like David Hasselhoff, but they probably couldn't put in Hasselhoff as a last name, so instead he's just called David Human from Texas, USA.
I do love that while we're looking at a page that calls out that Douglas Anderson is just Steven Seagal, but does not call out that David Human is just David Hasselhoff when it's the most obvious thing in the world. And I also do think David Human is the best character in this game, if only because I feel like David Human mirror matches are abstract art in a way that I can't help but respect.
I mean, it almost plays like those wrestling games. Like, it plays like King, because it has these chained together throws where you have like 5 steps to perform a throw, where you have to grab a person and input and then turn them around and then do an input and then flip them over and whatnot. And you do all this for like 25% health bar. It's like ridiculous. It's like the convoluted parts of a grappler and the showmanship of a grappler, but with no damage.
For sure, but I think the thing that makes it magical for me is, one, I mean, this part of it could be broken for me, which is the fact that I don't understand how this game works. I have tried to learn, and I guess not particularly hard, to be honest. And when we have human versus human match and we start the chain wrestling, it's like David Human spins around the other David Human, grabs him around the waist, and then the other one spins around and grabs him around the waist, and repeat that 6 times, and they just keep pirouetting around each other, and you're just like, what is happening? Or the time we had the lockup where they reached out and grabbed each other's hands and, still holding hands, spun their hands in a circle, and then one of them just said, and it fell over and took 30% health damage.
There's something very weird about the mirror match in particular, because it feels like David Human can counter his own moves somehow, because like that thing where you grab somebody and then spin around and the other person grabs him instead around the waist. you can't do that with other characters. Like, that's just like, he just has this move, and apparently one of the properties of this move is, oh, another David Human can counter that move with the same move to continue their throw. It just gets really weird how this character is just picked for, like, mirror matches.
And it is like these are all like pretty much all of his moves are things I have seen in wrestling. It's just their Funhouse Mirrors version of them, right? Like you do see like waist grab into reversal. You don't see that 7 times in a row. You do see people like do the hand lock up and like spin their hands around, but that's not the part that hurts them. What?
It's really strange, and he also plays so much differently than anybody else because you have stuff like Yugo, the main character, who's literally Kazuya. Like, even some of his juggles feel like you're playing a Tekken character.
Yeah, and he's also just like spiked up black hair, like very pale, shirtless, with like beige pants and like red fingerless gloves. I mean, he just looks like Kazuya in gameplay and fights like him too.
It's really that he was probably like called Kazuya at some point. They were like, we can't call him Kazuya, and they're like, okay, well, what we do? We can't just ship this game now. We don't know how to make up names, and they were just like scrambling, looking at other fighters and being like, oh shit, Bloody Roar has a main character. Call him like that. Call him Yugo.
Man, if everybody could turn into animals, this would be a much better game.
Oh god, like no, this is there are 2 hidden animal characters, which is humans with like a parrot and a penguin head. But no, like this is it's very Tekken-ish, but it's very Tekken-ish, but more leaning towards Dead or Alive or Virtua Fighter in terms of how many fantastical elements it has. It even has like less fantastical elements than like, because Dead or Alive has the the Tengu bosses and whatnot, and Virtua Fighter has Dural. This doesn't even have that. It's just people fighting, and there's an evil corporation, I guess, and that's it.
I don't know. I feel like there's nothing more supernatural than Steven Seagal. That's an inhuman motherfucker.
Douglas Anderson, who is a government agent, a narcotics officer. I'm pretty sure Steven Seagal was a narcotics officer in at least one movie, probably more. Hobbies: looking good. Likes: Japanese culture. Dislikes: crime. His ex-girlfriend. I feel like all of those are from Steven Seagal. They probably just asked Steven Seagal what he likes and dislikes.
Don't worry, his ex-girlfriend is in this game.
Oh yeah, you can pick yes, Cindy.
Yoko Cindy Matsudaira.
Is Cindy...
Just call her Cindy, please.
What does she have? Why is she Japan? Oh, born in America, the Japanese parents. Okay. So she has Japanese parents, but she was born in America, so they had to have like Cindy as a middle name. Okay.
Oh man, she's a hired assassin, and so she was dating Douglas Anderson, and then Douglas Anderson's like, hey, listen, we've been going out for like 6 months, what's your job? And she's like, oh, I'm a hitman. And he's like, what? I'm a cop. We have to break up. And then found out that she entered the Sacred Fist tournament and entered to beat her up.
God, it's even called the Sacred Fist tournament. Like,
welcome to the King of Sacred Fist tournament.
Like, this feels like a parody more than anything. Just going through this, like, how you had like a bunch of those 16-bit and 32-bit parody fighting games of other stuff like Waku Waku or Evil Zone. This feels like it's a parody, but nobody told them it was when they were making it.
If it was, there'd be a Yoshibitsu in this game.
I am amazed there's a sword character in this game. Like, I am genuinely blown away.
Also, nobody uses a weapon. Everyone follows the rules.
Yeah. Although, this game does have some weird moments of casual 90s racism, where, like, everybody looks serious and normal and whatnot, and then the Chinese character is like very accented features, short and whatnot.
Yeah, and don't worry, all he cares about is money and serving his boss. It's really, really bad.
Right, yeah. And obviously the black character has an afro and sunglasses because
And one of his likes is fried chicken.
Didn't want to mention that part, but yeah, like we were talking about so we never really talked this much about the plot and the bios of characters. I don't think we've ever talked about bios of characters in any other podcast, but it's just like I can't like emphasize how generic this game feels and how it feels like you're just playing a worse version of a game you might not even like. Like, like it feels like even if you don't like Tekken and you play this will just feel like you're playing a worse version of Tekken. It's almost like those dime a dozen Mortal Kombat clones you had for the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo. It feels like that. It feels like playing one of those, but just like for Tekken. Like the only fun you can have is with how ridiculous it is.
Yeah. Yep. No. You don't need to play this video game.
I just say if you were thinking of playing these two games, just play the first one we mentioned.
I mean, listen, if you wanted to, like, poke this game, it's worth a laugh.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
If you're like, hey, let me spend time with one of these games, no. Don't do it with this one.
Well, like, I was also worried that we kind of like, oh, maybe we don't understand this game, maybe we didn't put enough time in it, or something like that. But I cannot find anything online about this game, like aside from a TV Tropes page and like a Wikipedia entry, and it's
a bunch of bad reviews of it, except for official PlayStation Magazine, who said it was a 9 out of 10. Great game.
Yeah, like you can't find anything about this game. Like there's no deep dive on it. Like maybe there's like a genius gem behind it or something. Like once you understand the systems, but I feel like I've played other games that felt alright, but then you can read about them and they're actually like very deep. That's usually the like when I play something old that I like, but I'm not sure about it. Like I end up finding communities around it that kind of like talk a bit more about a review and whatnot. But this is just like, it's not like Kusoge level. It's not like, oh god, this is the worst thing ever. Like what was it called? Tao the Sacred Fist, the Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like bad Rise of the Robots level that you're gonna play for laughs. It's just like it's boring bad.
Yeah, just a mess of a game.
I did mention when we were playing. I wonder if Konami actually is this before or after Silent Hill? Now I'm kind of curious. 98. Silent Hill had to have been before 98. Because I have this feeling that no, Silent Hill was 99. Okay. I had this theory that they made buck with Silent Hill 1, and they were like, oh, if we could clone Silent Hill and earn a lot of money, we can clone other things to make a lot of money. But I guess it was the other way around. They cloned Tekken and were like, shit, maybe we shouldn't clone fighting games. What's the other thing Capcom made? Like, that they made Resident Evil? Okay, clone that. And then it worked. I don't know. This is just like really bad. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, it's I mean, I don't have to tell Miodrag this. You are a professional video game developer, but making games is very hard. It takes a lot of work. It's so easy for it to go wrong. It's so complicated, and I don't feel good dunking on games. And so, like, I want this to be, I guess I always want it to be clear that I'm not here to, like, chew out the developers, though actually your representation of Zoe is just really racist, and you should, rethink your lives. But it's just a really bad game.
I mean, how I view it always is like, I don't think we're something like individual devs here. We're just insulting like the company that just like saw this through from beginning to end, and that's Konami. And I guess Konami are big boys with big pants, and obviously that's just a form of criticism, which is okay. Like we're not saying like, yeah, this is please never touch a fighting game again or something like that. It's just like, yeah, this 22-year-old fighting game is actually not that great. Sorry you had to learn it this way in the year 2020 of our Lord.
Yeah, how could you? They worked so hard, and you break their hearts like this 22 years later.
Yeah. But no, I think it's like legit criticism, and especially like the more time passes, I'm pretty sure the people who worked on this, most of them have probably gone on to make better things.
Also, they know, right? They're not surprised that people don't think this game was very good. That's not some you know.
I mean, how many other fighting games does Konami have? Like, I don't think they've actually developed that many.
No, not very many. I mean, they've got like Castlevania Judgment and like Rumble Roses, but
oh shit, Rumble Roses was them. I forgot about that.
Yeah. The world is crying out for a new Rumble Roses.
God, I remember somebody showing off that game for me because they were really hyped for it.
I mean, it's the ladies and they wrestle.
Yeah, like oh god, I think that was the game where said friend showed it off and like showed off the taunt of the one of the female wrestlers where she turns around and slaps her butt and says "kochi kochi," and then he tells me that means "come over here" in Japanese. And I'm like,
wow.
Oh, okay, thank you for demonstrating. Thank you for demonstrating the one thing I'll remember about this fighting game, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like it worked on you.
Yeah.
It's too bad. So unfortunately, it was developed by an actual wrestling fighting game developer. The problem is that developer was Yuke's, and Yuke's, they're the bad ones. They're the ones that make bad fighting games. Or wrestling games. They're the ones who make the current like WWE wrestling games. They're very bad at their jobs. They also don't have any money. It's not entirely their fault these days. They should be better than they are. But, I mean, Rumble Roses had like you could pick whether you wanted the heel or face version of each character. That was kind of cool.
Oh, that sounds like a cool idea. That's why I like checking out these bad games, because sometimes they have cool ideas. Or like if I ever decide to make a block button that isn't just like deflect blow, but actually some kind of animation, I'll be like, yeah, that was the one good thing from Kensei. Let's take it and actually make it decent.
Now, it's like I want to check out Rumble Roses, but I also am gonna it's just gonna be horny and I'm gonna be sad.
I mean, we can. Well, I think it's fair that you pick a bad game and I pick a good one next time.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we'll commit to. Oh man, if there's Lady X and then Lady X Substance, but she's not neither heel nor face. She's a robot, and so she's neither one. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sounds like I know which game you're gonna pick.
Yeah, I guess so. All right. Well, my friend, I think it's time to wrap it up. If people appreciated your work here, want to see more of it, where would you recommend they go for that?
You can check me out on twitch.tv/RealSovietBear and twitter.com/MDKII. That's MDK Roman numerals too.
Excellent.
And where can people find you, Six?
I am Sixdetmar. You can find me on Twitter at Sixdetmar, SIXDETTMAR. And you can find the work that I do on scanlinemedia.com or patreon.com/scanlinemedia.
Alrighty, well, thank you all for listening to a retro fighting game impressions. As newer things come on that are worth talking about, we will definitely talk about them. But I guess for now we're digging back into the past.
Oh no, Rumble Roses has a humiliation gauge. I hate this.
Sounds like a lot of interesting systems that need to be exposed. Pun not
but what I wanna play CVS 3 with R groove for Rose's groove. All right. Peace out, everybody.
Bye.